Hello and welcome. I hope that you're all doing well. In this video, we're going to take a look at how we can insert data into MongoDB. So let's jump over to our code and see how that is done. So I've got my general setup where we're connecting to our database and setting up our database here. And the way that we're going to insert data into this database is by defining them as JSON objects or JSON-like objects. So basically the main idea is that we're storing everything as objects. So in order to define our data, we define it as objects, and that's what's getting stored inside of this collection that we created in the previous video. So let me give you an example. Suppose I create the following object, and it has a name. So in this case, it's going to be a desktop computer is the name, and maybe it has a price. So in this case, maybe 350 is the price. This would be the way that we would declare the data, right? We just give it the actual descriptor and the value, descriptor and value. So this is the way that we define our object in JavaScript. So you can see it almost mimics the idea of tables, right? We have sort of these columns. So in this case, name and price, and then we have values associated with them, which is desktop computer and 350. Now, when we have these defined, we can go ahead and insert them into our collection by going dbo.collection. And we're going to select the collection that we just created, which is called products. And then in this case, we're going to insert one value. So we do .insert1, and then we put in the value that we want to insert. And this, of course, is going to be a function that has an error and a result. And if we encounter an error, we're of course going to throw that error, and otherwise we are just going to log that one document was inserted. We refer to these objects as documents. That's the name that Mongo typically uses for this sort of thing. And really, these are just objects. They have descriptors and they have values, and we can use these descriptors and values in whatever way we would like to. So at this point, we have our data inserting, and of course we could do our db.close, right, to close off our connection at this point. And we'll just put a semicolon here just to have that all set. And let's just run this and see what happens. You can see when I do that, I get one document inserted, which means the value was inserted into the database. So that's nice and easy. Now, one other thing I want to talk about is how we can insert many values at once, because we could do that in SQL using insert into and then values, and then we could just like list the values. And that's going to actually be similar in the case of using MongoDB. We can set up an object list. So I could say obj list. And the way that I define this is we put rectangular brackets to indicate that it's a list, and then we enter in the different values. So let's say we have a laptop with a price of $225.50. And I can put a comma and define another object. You see that these are separate because we have these brace brackets closing and opening. So this is one of the objects that we're inserting. And then here's the next one. The next one I'm going to do name, let's do keyboard, and let's say that the price is $22.50. So this now has two values in it, and you can put as many values as you would like inside of here, and then we can insert these using insert many. So the way that this works is we say insert many, and instead of my object, we're going to do obj list now. And rather than saying one document inserted, what I'm going to do is I'm going to print out res.insertedCount. What this does is it gets the response from this actual action, and it tells me how many values were inserted as a result. So let's try running this and see what happens. You can see that I get the value 2 returned back to me. This means that 2 values were inserted in, and that is true because there are 2 values that are defined here. Now, one final thing that I want to show you here is if I just print out the res variable, you'll see that I get a lot of different information about what has been done with my database. You can see that I've created some new objects, and they have particular IDs associated with them. So when we create these objects, they're given IDs as a unique identifier for them in our database collection. So that's just something that I wanted to keep in mind, and you can see that there's this inserted count that we are referencing, which tells us how many values were inserted. So this should give you a general idea of how we can just insert values into our collection. In the next video, I'm going to show you how you can actually select data in order to see the data that we have added into the collection. So thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.